What's up guys? Welcome back to Silicon Tech. Now, the iPad has been around for a little bit more than 11 years, so a lot of people know just how great and how useful they can be. And today I want to talk about the 5 best things that come with owning an iPad from my perspective. Now, there are many different models of the iPad, but everything we'll talk about today can be found on any model you can pick up in the stores right now. So let's kick it off with the first one. And this is one that a lot of people take advantage of and love, and that's the form factor. Now, depending on the model you get, you can have an iPad that's 8.3 inches when it comes to the iPad mini, all the way up to 12.9 inches on the iPad Pro. Now, me personally, I have a 2020 12.9 inch iPad Pro. It's big enough for me to be able to draw on, write notes on, and just consume media. But there's also two other screen sizes in the middle of that 8.3 and 12.9 inch iPad. And that comes with the plain Jane base model iPad coming in at 10.2 inches. Also the iPad Air coming in at 10.9 inches, and the smaller version of the iPad Pro, the 11 inch. And you can pretty much bring any size of any iPad model anywhere with you. The portability won't be a problem. There are a lot of bags that you can put them in, a lot of accessories that you can buy just to kind of carry them around. And like I mentioned, with the 12.9 inch that I have, it's never been a hassle for me to bring this thing anywhere. So whether it's just running around the city, bringing it on a plane, or bringing it to some smaller, more cramped workspaces. I think the form factor of all the models are great, but I'm biased and my favorite is the form factor of the iPad Pro model. And as of 2018, that's definitely been influencing Apple's iPhones, and now as of recent, the MacBooks as well. And the variety of the sizes gives you some good options to maybe pick up some of the smaller versions for kids, and of course having those larger versions to have the options to do some more serious tasks. So the number 2 best thing about the iPad for me is hands down the battery life. So any current iPad you can pick up right now will get you 10 hours minimum of battery life. So that could be a mixed bag of looking at shows, listening to music, making content, and taking notes. The batteries on the iPads can definitely keep the party going for a very long time. On my 12.9 inch, I rarely run into any battery issues, and that's even when I'm outside the crib traveling or whatnot. Sometimes the battery can last up to 2 days with me actually using it for a mixed bag of different things. So I really don't have a lot of charge anxiety when it comes to it. And as I mentioned, that 10 hours minimum of battery life is on any iPad you can buy, so you can be rest assured that for whatever workflow you're using it for, or even if you're just using it to play games and watch media, you'll have a lot of juice even when you're outside the crib. Now, the third best thing about the iPad, and what makes it so unique and great and just good for different reasons for a lot of different people, is the accessory support. Now, out of all the products Apple makes, when you look at the iPhone, MacBooks, and all of that, I think the iPad clearly has the best accessory support out of all of them, and like meaningful accessory support. Like 1 or 2 accessories can change completely how you use an iPad. And 2 of my favorite accessories for the iPad, which I've covered earlier on this channel, are the Magic Keyboard and the Apple Pencil. Both of these accessories can really change how you use the iPad, especially the Apple Pencil for me, because just being able to scribble, take notes, and to draw on the iPad is something really great. When you experience it for the first time and get used to it, it's something that you won't go back from. Just being able to pick up the iPad, take notes, draw on a whim no matter where you are, and just having all the tools for all of that expression is something crazy. And if you're more of a productivity type of person, the Magic Keyboard is one of the best keyboards I've used. Was skeptical about it when I first got it, but months and months later, it's been great. I love typing on it, able to do different Word documents and spreadsheets on it, and all of that is possible due to the Magic Keyboard, because I would definitely not be doing any of those things on the iPad's on-screen keyboard. Although the Magic Keyboard is exclusive to the iPad Pro and the iPad Air, you can definitely pick up a lot of third-party keyboards for the iPad Mini, but that one would be Bluetooth because there isn't like an attachment keyboard for that one. But there are keyboard options for the original iPad as well as the iPad Mini if you want to dare to try to type on that small screen. Now, the original iPad is the only iPad that supports the weird first generation of Apple Pencil with its strange charging method. But the rest of the iPad lineup supports the, in my opinion, much better second generation Apple Pencil, which actually charges magnetically to the iPad. The keyboards and Apple Pencils aren't the only accessories for the iPad. You have a variety of different cases that change the viewing angles when you're looking at media or drawing. You also have dongles, which are kind of a necessity, especially if you're using the iPad as kind of your only main computer. You'll need that dongle to have the memory card support for the SD card, as well as the HDMI port. If you want a regular headphone jack, a lot of dongles come with that. So just with the dongle, that opens the iPad for you to be able to do a lot more things and make it a much more useful tool. And then you have a variety of different screen protectors as well as battery packs if the already excellent battery life still isn't good enough for you, and the list can go on and on. So accessory wise, the iPad has definitely got you covered. So there's something for everybody, especially on the third party side, depending on how hard you want to look. The fourth best thing about the iPad is iPad OS. And even saying that right now is weird because the original operating system of the iPad was just iOS. So both the iPhone and the iPad, when it was originally released, ran iOS. So that went on for some years, and then the iPad got iPad OS, which was basically still a clone of iOS. Now, as it stands now, especially with iPad OS 15, I think the operating system really stands out and takes advantage of the iPad. So the advantage to getting the iPad over getting the iPhone, the main one, is the screen size, hands down. So now in the later versions of iPad OS, they take advantage of that bigger screen real estate with multitasking, the split screen feature, which I absolutely love, and also the app layout for certain apps, specifically YouTube. That's one of my favorite apps on iPad, just with that app layout. So it's like night and day between your phone, or iPhone specifically, and the iPad in terms of the layout. And a few other apps have a pretty good layout on there too, like specifically ESPN. So a lot of data intensive apps where you have to see like a lot of numbers, a lot of content, like you'll be able to consume much more of that, and it makes it better of what you want to see, what you want to view, and it's easier to kind of pick and choose those things than looking at it on the smaller screen with your phone. But also iPad OS brings one of my favorite things to Scribble. So as I mentioned before, the Apple Pencil is one of my favorite accessories of the iPad, and on last year's version with iPad OS 14, they brought this feature called Scribble, and in any text field on the iPad, you can just scribble in. And I didn't think at first I would use it as much as I do. I was excited about it, but having it for the better part of a year now has definitely made me just scribble more when I'm online, scribble in the website I want to do, specifically with notes You can quick start a note from your iPad and being able to scribble there. So it's a really useful feature in terms of just writing things down. You're not running for a pen and paper, just scribbling away. And although I can't really give any technical figures to prove this, apps definitely run smoother on the iPad. So not even just when you're thinking about just the bigger image and things like that. And if you want to play games from the Apple Arcade outside of getting a traditional MacBook, the iPad is definitely a beast for playing games on. Of course, when it comes to the bigger screen size, having that controller support that Apple kind of unleashed a few years back, as well as the portability. So if you want to play games on a touch-enabled device, the iPad is definitely the way to go. And the last best thing about the iPad may be a little bit controversial, but I personally think it's more than a laptop replacement. So when you're getting an iPad, you shouldn't be getting it to replace your laptop, because it's more than that with the possibilities that you have. When you attach on some of those accessories, when you have the operating system and just how the apps are optimized to run on this thing, and the portability of it, but not sacrificing usefulness of it, it's a beast of a machine. And traditional laptops can't really touch that, because the iPad is a touch-enabled device. And on the Mac side, at least, they don't make laptops that are touch-enabled. So any touch-enabled situations, so any touch-enabled tasks that you may have to do, you need an iPad. And when it comes to traditional typing and everything, me personally, I'll admit, if I'm going to be primarily typing or doing a keyboard orientated task, even though I love the Magic Keyboard, I would rather do that on a laptop. But it still isn't a bad experience in doing that on an iPad. So when you look at it, you have the Apple Pencil that just opens up a world of possibilities on the iPad, especially if you're creative. Like the drawing, even using the Apple Pencil to edit photos and video, it's a great experience. And for those reasons is why I think of the iPad as more than a laptop replacement. But some will agree, some will disagree. But for the majority of people, if they had to pick one machine, an iPad, or let's just say a MacBook, I think a lot more people would get a lot more use out of the iPad and have room to grow in interest and productivity. So that's my 5 best things about the iPad. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions and what you think about them. Thanks for watching the video. Like, consider subscribing to the channel. See you on the next one. Be easy and peace.